Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel Learn GSP with Mahesh. Couple of days back, we had tried to see how a mini implementation for Dress4Win works using virtual machines. There was one virtual machine for database, one virtual machine for web server or the application server. Today, we'll see the same implementation using managed instance group for the web server. The database is going to remain the same, and we'll see how the web server can be made as a managed instance group is what we are going to see. Something very similar to what we did in our mounted games. So before we get started, a quick shout out. So I'm starting my sixth batch, which is for Cloud Architect, Google Cloud Architect, which is a customized training. So the plan is to start it on 23rd of January this month. So the timings, the details are all mentioned in the slide. If you want more details, please drop me a direct email on this, or you can contact me on my LinkedIn. So let's get started. Let's get started. All right, this was the screen which we had stopped on a couple of days back, and if I just click on this, the application is still working. So you see the same thing which we saw a couple of days back. So it's all working fine. Now, what we'll do is we'll try to make it as a managed instance group. For that, you need to have a image. So what I'm going to do is the same trick. Click on this virtual machine, go edit it. So if you recollect the video which we did not make sure the boot disk would be retained. So I'm just going to click on edit. So go to my disk. If I just delete this virtual machine, the content is also going to go off. So that's the reason I'm going to keep it. So that's the first step which I'm going to do. Save it. Now what is going to happen is, now if I delete this virtual machine, I'll still have my disk. So with the disk, I can take a custom image out of it, and then I can do the instance template part. So now the virtual machine is, that configuration is done. Let me just go ahead and delete this virtual machine. I don't need it anymore. So that's the first step. The second step is having an external IP address for a database is not a very secure one. And if you saw the previous video also, we leverage only the internal IP address. So why don't we turn off the external IP address? We don't need it anymore. So trying to have some security stuffs and also try to make sure the solution is cost effective. So go to your networking details and make sure the external IP address is turned off. So slowly we are improvising what we did in the past video. Compared to the past video, we are trying to improvise it. So that should be done. Once it is done, so the next step which we are going to do is, from the disk we are going to create a image. So let's wait for this to happen. All right, the stuff is updated. Now if I go back, I should be only seeing one instance, that is our DB instance. Let me just zoom this for a better view. And the external IP address is none. So if I go to my disks, I should see two disks. One is my app server, the other one is my DB server. But the app server is not currently used by anything. So we are going to click create a image. So why we need an image? So for the instance template, we always need an image. So that's the main reason. So I'm going to call this as Dress4Win image. That's it. And let me make it as regional. That's it. And go ahead and create it. So it's going to take a couple of minutes for it to come up, and we should see our previous image also which we created. So uh, we'll try to clean up this. So there was one request also. So if I just refresh this, so it's there. So let's just wait for this to come up. All right, the image is created, and actually a small jump. So the first video which I did, one of the comment was, there was a request, can we also cover cleanup of the resource created as a part of the implementation? So how do you clean up it? So most of the videos, I don't show how I clean it up. So let me just show you that also as an added feature here. So just wanted to show you that. So now the stuff is there. Let's go, and the image is there. Let's go and create our template. So the same procedure. So the Mongrel Games template is still there. If you don't need it, you can delete it off. Let's create a new template which is going to use basically that image which we created. That is the crux actually. So let's call this as Dress4Win template 1, and I will just definitely use micro, because if I want to scale more, have to see that. So done. The most important thing, make sure you select it from a image. So that's where our image is going to come up. So it should show our Dress4Win image, which we just created now. Let's wait for it. So basically it's an Ajax call, which is trying to do that. So get that, click, done. Now, if you see here, right, the startup script which we had. So if I just go to the app server, we had all these things, which is part of the image already now. Now, the only thing which is not part of the startup script is run the stuffs in a daemon mode. So it is not going to happen. So this part I have to make somehow a part of the startup script in my template. So basically I have to switch. Basically, I don't need to become a root user, because all the startup script is going to run as a root user. We have seen that in one of our videos itself. So I should make sure I am in uh, slash Dress4Win folder. Inside that I should go and do it. So that's the most important step. So let me just copy this part, and I should make sure I have a startup script. So I should make sure I allow HTTP under management. So this is a new thing which we did not see. So in an instance template, we are having a startup script. Slide, and it's highly recommended you don't put a startup script in a uh, instance template, because it's going to slow down your process. But here it's not a big thing. So I'm just going to do this. Dress4Win. That is the folder. I have to change my directory. Win is W is capital. Now do this part. So if I do this, my script should start up. Basically, that's the stuff. Anything else which I should do? Let me just quickly check it. Uh, and anyway, we are going to use basically a load balancer. Why don't we have, maybe for now we'll, yeah, that should, we can also not have an external IP address also. So we can save some cost. So no external IP address using this template. So looks good for me. Let's go ahead and create it. Now the template is going to just get created. Once the template creates, right, as a best practice, whenever I do anything with MIG, right, I don't, after a template is created, I don't usually go and create MIG. To test it out, I create a single virtual machine using the template. So we have seen such demos in our video, in our channel itself. So let me just go now, create an instance, not in the normal style, but in the approach which we are going to use with a template. So you should be able to see this option, not fill this form, but create a VM from the template. So we anyway have a template. So let's use this, create it. The only modification which I'm going to do is, because I wanted to test it out whether the app is really working, I'm just going to add the external IP address. Everything is going to come what you mentioned in the template. So what's the machine type, what's the image, everything, including the startup script, the 2 lines of code which you added, even that is going to come up. Good. So the only thing which I'm going to do slightly modification is I want an external IP address. So when we do the instance group, we will not have an external IP address, because anyway the global load balancer is going to have the IP address. So this is for testing out whether that startup script is going to work or not. So this is a quick check. So this way you will be very sure whether things are really working fine or not. Okay, so that is the key part here. So let's wait for this to come up. And if I click on this, if things are working, that is an indication that if I create an image, sorry, manage instance group, it should also work. That is the key indication. Let's wait for this to come up. Yes, it has come up, and I have not even paused the video. So let's see what is it's going to show. If it's working, all good. Otherwise, I'm going to fix my startup script. Basically, that's it. So let's see what's going to happen. It's taking time. Let me just try to refresh it one more time. Or I have to tweak my startup script. No, I don't need to do it. Awesome, it's working. So good. So let me just add an item. I can do it. So check out. So it's working fine. So it's working fine. So all good. Meaning I can go ahead with my instance, manage instance group. So I don't need this VM anymore. Thanks for testing it out. So let's say bye bye to this instance. Now this gets deleted. By the time it gets deleted, let's go and create our instance group. Maybe this time, why don't we create something in Europe? So let's try to do something in Europe. So I'm going to, last time we did in Asia. So I'm going to call this as EMEA MIG, then multiple zones. So let's do something in West 6. If I'm not wrong, it's Switzerland. So select the template. Auto scaling is turned on. I will go with HTTP load balancing. 60 should be good enough. Done. And since I'm using a free tier quota, so I will not go beyond 10, so I'll just make it as 5 in this case for auto scaling purpose. And let's use the same health check which we used last time also. This is basically to check whether port 80 is running or not from the load balancer. That's it. So all good. Click on create. We see the standard pop-up where it is saying you have not created a load balancer. We'll definitely create a load balancer once we finish this part. So let's wait for this to come up. It's going to take few minutes for it to come up. To verify whether it's totally fully running or not, what you can do basically is you can go to your uh, actually it is doing a scale up basically. So if I just go here back to the screen, the manage instance group, you see this is auto scaling 0 to 1. So once it becomes 1, you should see in your instance templates one virtual machine basically, and it will not have an external IP address because it is using the template. So if you want to try it out whether it's really working, you can just SSH into it, do a curl command and see the output. But since we have already tested it, we don't need to do that extra work. So let's just leave this here, go jump into our load balancer and provision the load balancer and make sure we use this as our this instance group as our backend. So that's what we are going to do. So let me switch to my network services. So let me go to my network service, load balancing. So create a load balancer and L7 load balancer, and the request is coming from internet. So let me call this as Dress4Win LB. The backend service. I want a backend service. So let's call this as backend service, and the instance group is going to show up and the port is 80. I'm going to use the rate based. So for demonstration purpose, let's put 30 requests per second. That should be good enough, and let's not fully exhaust our stuff. So let's use 80. Done. Now that's it. All good. Click on create. So okay, health check, the most important thing, we forgot this. The health check is important. Done. So go to your host and path. Let's leave everything as default and let every request be served from our backend service, which we just created. So front end, we can just leave it as is, no change required. And anyway, I don't have a certificate, so I can just leave it with HTTP. That should be good enough. Port is 80. Click review. Everything should be good. Click on create. It's going to take as usual around 4 to 5 minutes, sometimes 7 minutes it can take. I'm just going to pause this video. Once it comes, I should be able to show you that, but just let me just wait for a couple of seconds here where it's going to show that green tick. Once it shows that green tick, at least I'll know the IP address which is going to come up. So if I click on advanced menu, I should be able to see my load balancer IP address. So if I just go to my backend, okay, sorry, it should be forwarding rules. This is the one. If I click on this, currently it will show page not found. So So let's wait for around 4 to 5 minutes or maximum 7 minutes. Once we come back and refresh it, it should show up the stuffs. Okay. And once it shows, I will just test it out. And also, as per this request, I'll show you how do you dismantle everything. Come to nothing, zero. So we'll see that also. Let me just pause the video for a few minutes. All right, the load balance is up and running. Let's just check everything is working fine. Good. So last time I used demon shit. So let me use something else. Black jacket to check out. So yes, the price is coming there. So let me just do to update. It's updating. I can do a checkout. So it's working. Basically, it is working. So let me just hit some couple of more requests so that I can see some traces of it. I'm just refreshing it couple of times just to generate some load here. Now, yes, it has generated. Now let's go to our backend services and see the flow. So now it should show as if like the traffic is coming from Asia and flowing into Europe. That's how it should show. This should show that actually. So because we have generated some traffic, it should show from Asia. Since because I'm part of Asia, it's going to show from Asia the traffic is flowing into Europe. So let me just do a couple of times refresh and see whether the screen can show up. Last time we saw because the MIG was provisioned in Singapore and the request was coming from Asia, we did not see much difference there. So it was Asia to Asia kind of a stuff. This time because we have created in Europe, you should see a different flow, a slightly a different view. Basically, let's just check it out. That's going to be a nice view, I would say. So let me just wait for this to pop up few more. So it's usually going to take a few minutes for it to pop up. Maybe I can just generate a few loads. So just request this, or I can use some utilities like AB utility, AB Apache benchmarking utility, something like this to generate some load there. So let's just give a try. What's going to show up, and once it shows up, I'll show you the last piece. So we have tried to generate some loads. If we click on the backend service, we should be able to see a very, very beautiful view. Traffic from Asia is flowing into Europe, specifically Switzerland. So this is a very beautiful view, which we did not see it in our previous demo with Mount Good Games because the managed instance group was in Singapore and the traffic was coming from Asia itself. So it was from Asia to Asia kind of a stuff. So this is the first part which I wanted to show. Now, as per this request, let's try to dismantle it. So whenever you do any dismantling in GCP, right, it should be the reverse way. How you provisioned it, you should do the reverse way. So let's try to do that. So first, what I will do is basically come to load balancer and try to delete this load balancer. So delete this, and when you click on delete it, it's going to show also you want to delete the backend. Yes, I want to delete it. Select it and delete it. So this way, the load balancer is going to be dismantled. Once the load balancer is dismantled, the only part which is left is basically your MIG. Go and delete your MIG and you should be all good. So let's wait for the load balancer to be deleted. Once it is deleted, we'll just go and delete our MIG. All right, the load balancer is dismantled. Now the last part, last but one is basically go to my MIG and make sure I delete my MIG. Once I delete my MIG, you can leave the template if you want because the template is not going to charge you, but you can make sure the disk which you have created, you can go and delete it. So let me just delete this. Done. So basically what it's going to do is where the image, the virtual machine which is running is going to get removed. So I'll be only left with my DB server, which I will delete it easily. So it's nothing attached to anywhere. So it's not an MIG. So I can just directly go and delete it. So it should be getting deleted now. So let's just wait for it to show. Yes, it is spinning down. Once it spins down, I have nothing. So I'll be only having the DB, which is nothing but a virtual machine. You know how to delete it. Just go click that, delete. It's going to work. And make sure you also delete your image. So if you don't want the image, let's go also remove that, because image also is going to cost you there. So let's delete that also, so that we are making it back to a clean slate. So let's just delete that also. So I don't want this image anymore. I'm just going to delete it off. The last piece is going to be your virtual machine, which is a database. So that should be the last piece. Done. If I go to my MIG, to my virtual machine, okay, it's taking, the MIG is taking time to get deleted. So by the time that gets deleted, okay, it's done. Now let me just delete my last piece, which is my database. This was the first one which we provisioned, and this is the last one which we are deprovisioning. That's it. And it's your choice whether you want to keep your template or not, because the template is totally free of cost. It's just a template. But if you want it to become a clean slate, you can make sure you delete it. And now if you see here, we have to do lots of deletes. So this is where infrastructure as code, deployment manager or Terraform really rocks. So you want to provision it, all these things you can provision. If you don't want it, a single command like gcloud deployment manager deployment delete, it's going to delete the entire resource, or Terraform destroy is going to delete it completely. So that's the biggest advantage of it. So that's the video which I wanted to show today on Dress4Win, the second implementation using MIG. And we also use some little best practices, like for the database we removed the external IP address. For the MIG we also removed the external IP address, and what we had was only one external IP address, which was the global load balancer. So that's the video which I wanted to share today. Hope you like it. Thank you for watching.